Hello everyone, it's me Elizabeth. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about my top 10 books of 2022. I did film a video on my top books of 2022. It wasn't my top 10, it was just a whole bunch of books. But I lost the footage and I decided that I wanted to do only top 10 anyway. So this is my list. There are two books that I don't have on me right now. One of them I own, but my brother's reading it, so I'm not going to take it from him. And the second one is something I just don't own that I listen to on audio. So, this is my list of my top 10 favorite books of 2022. Starting at the bottom, we have the books that I don't have on me right now. We have The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. I actually own this book, but I listened to the audiobook for it because I just found it for free on Audible and I thought it'd be fun to listen to when I was at work. I really enjoyed this book a lot. I don't know. I just really enjoyed this book. I thought it was so much fun. It was just a fun read. Fun, kind of lighthearted, fun read. It was so much fun hearing the stories of Robin Hood, and the ending was definitely unexpected, I gotta put it that way, but it was really fun and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's basically about Robin Hood, the legend, myth, whatever you want to call it. If you're into that type of thing, it's a really good book. Coming in at number 9, we have A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. This year, I just went crazy and listened to a whole bunch of C.S. Lewis audiobooks because they were free and they're super short. So, A Grief Observed was absolutely amazing. I loved every single audiobook that I listened to of his, and it's hard to choose from all of them, but A Grief Observed and Surprised by Joy were two that were my top 2 out of the Lewis picks, but I picked A Grief Observed for this list because it was amazing. Okay, coming in next with the books I actually own, I listened to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. This book was phenomenal. Basically, I've never read an Agatha Christie book, but I'm reading more Agatha Christie at some point in my life because this was so good. I really had no idea what this is about besides the fact that it's a murder mystery because it's Agatha Christie. I know that much, but I didn't really know much of anything about what the actual story is about. I mean, I knew it related to them being on an island or whatever. That's about all I knew about it. So I read this and I was like, wow, this is impressive. It's crazy. It's really good. If you should just give it a shot because you might be surprised. I'm not one that's super into murder mysteries or something. If it's a good murder mystery, I'll be intrigued, but I don't really go for murder mysteries all that much. But I'm definitely hoping to read more Agatha Christie in the future because this was amazing. If you don't already know about Agatha Christie, because it's a classic, you probably do, but all of these people get invited to a mansion on this island, and then they start, all of them, one by one, they start, getting dead. So, who done it? The next number 7, I believe, is Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brian. There's gonna be a theme with most of these books. Even though I owned them, I did listen to them on audiobook because sometimes it's just easier that way. So again, I listened to this on audiobook, but this book is amazing. First thing I have to say, this is the movie cover on the book, but second thing I have to say is if you're wanting to read this because you're like, ooh, I love that movie, I want to read this book, just be aware, because I wasn't aware, and that's the same exact reason why I wanted to read this. This book isn't what the movie's based off of. It's like the 5th book in the series or something like that. Let me see. There's a whole bunch of books in the series. There's maybe 5 books or something. I don't know. And the last book, I think it's the last one, if I can read the back of this here, is The Far Side of the World. which is what the movie's called, Master and Commander in the Far Side of the World. So, this is actually a series called Aubrey and Maturin, and it's amazing. I also read the second book, and I love them. They're awesome. I love Aubrey and Maturin. So basically, in the first book, we follow Jack Aubrey as he meets Stephen Maturin, and they become friends, and then, they become shipmates, I guess you want to call that, whatever you want to call that. He's a captain of a ship, and he invites Maturin to come with him on the ship and be his doctor or whatever. And it's just really good and really fun. I love the characters. I think that's one of the biggest reasons I love this, because I love Stephen Maturin and Jack Aubrey. I just think they're awesome, and I'm always like, I wouldn't say I'm picturing their faces from the movies, but I'm picturing their like characters from the movies. It's a fun book. I like it a lot. The next book I also listen to on audio. I have this theme where I listen to books that I own physically on audiobook, but I listen to Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This is an absolute brick. It's really large, but this book is another classic. But this book is amazing. It's awesome. Basically, one of the reasons I already had this like in my list to someday read, it was like one of those books that I was gonna read like years from now or something. Then my sister was like, "Hey, do you want to read this book together?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's perfect. Like, I'll actually like read this Russian novel that I probably would have read 10 years from now instead of right now." So I started listening to it, and it was really good. And then my sister started listening to it, and she listened to like not that much of it, and she hasn't read any of the rest of it since. So I finished it though, so there's that. But I loved this book. This was awesome. This character, man, something's wrong with her. But yeah, this was absolutely phenomenal. Next, at number 5, I believe. This is number 5. Wow, we're at number 5? Okay, well, this is Easy Company Soldier, The Legendary Battles of a Sergeant from World War II Band of Brothers by Sergeant Don Malarkey and Bob Welch. With Bob Welch, I should say. This was amazing. I read this one really quickly as well. It's a pretty short book, but basically I love every single book that I've ever read about anybody from Band of Brothers. Anything related to the Band of Brothers and that whole World War II thing, I love. So, this book was just amazing, and I really liked hearing from someone else's perspective other than Major Dick Winters, because most of the stuff I've read revolves, like, the main thing is Major Dick Winters. So I really liked hearing from someone else's perspective that you don't, like, get their perspective very often in Band of Brothers book. And it was really interesting because there's some stuff, he talks about the show and stuff in here as well, and there's some stuff that, like, they put in the show for fun that didn't actually happen in real life, like the whole part where they find the concentration camp. That apparently didn't happen in real life. So, I mean, there's that. So I just thought this was really interesting, reading from someone else's perspective, and this one I did read physically. The next one, number 4, we have The Swiss Family Robinson by Johann Rudolf Weiss. This book is actually really short. I also listened to this one on audio, but this book was phenomenal. Again, I was going into this one thinking about the movie because I have watched the movie a million times throughout my lifetime. I've always loved this movie so much, and I still love it because it's just one of those movies that I will always love. But this is nothing like the movie. There are 2 sort of 3-ish things that are slightly similar to the movie. Number 1, they do get stranded on an island. Number 2, they have the same names for the characters that do exist. And number 3, I guess the number 3rd thing is that they do build a treehouse. One of the biggest things for me that I was surprised when reading this is the mother in this book. Like, she was awesome. Honestly, in the movie, I'm like, she's such a big baby. But in this, I really thought she was awesome. You know, like, there's that whole, like, drama in the movie where the mother is like, I'm not going to this treehouse, I'm not going up here, blah, blah, blah. Like, she was freaking out about the treehouse. And in the book, she's the one who's like, let's build a treehouse. I'm like, what? Also, there were no pirates. No pirates. There were natives. But there were no pirates. And they were friendly with the natives as well. So, the whole pirate thing. And Roberta doesn't exist either. Also, there's another child named Jack. So, yeah. This was amazing. If you watched the movie and liked it, I highly recommend you pick this up because it's 1,000 times better. Next, we have these two books I put together because they were both 5 stars and I had to group them together. One of the best books I've ever read this year, and that is Ink Spell and Ink Death by Cornelia Funk. I don't know what it is, but I absolutely love this series to death. It's awesome. It's amazing. Ink Spell will rip your heart out so hard, and Ink Death will also keep that going. But oh my gosh, these books are phenomenal. These covers, these spines, these book covers are phenomenal as well. But I absolutely love these books. This is the second and third book in the Ink World trilogy, the first one being Inkheart. These are phenomenal. I love all 3 of the books so much. This is one of my new favorite series. It's just so good. And Dustfinger, best character, easily best character in this. And I also absolutely love Mortimer Foltart. He's also awesome. Like, when he's a blue jay, he's awesome as well. There are so many great characters in this, and so many not great characters. But basically, if you don't already know what the first one's about, basically, this guy can read stuff out of books, but every time he reads something out, something is read in. And when his daughter is a baby, he's reading this book to his wife and his daughter, and she gets read into the book. The book being Inkheart. And then, cut to however many years later, and he's traveling all around the country, world, whatever, with his daughter, trying to find this book so he can read his wife out again. But there are basically no copies in existence because basically when he read his mother in, he read a bunch of people from Inkheart out, a bunch of the evil bad guys. And so now they live in his world, and they basically destroyed every copy of Inkheart, and he's trying to find a copy so he can read his wife out, and then, goes from there. There's a bunch of other stuff, but it's amazing. Absolutely love it. Dustfinger is one of my favorite characters ever. I love it. I mean, I went in this loving the movie, so that's where that comes from. This is the best fantasy book I read all year. This next one, number 2, is Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This book was stunning. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. I so heartily enjoyed this. I don't know how to explain it, but this book, if you're into fantasy, you should give it a read because it's amazing. I cannot wait to read Wiseman's Fear because this was so much fun. Basically, the main guy works in this inn, and he's like this guy that has this great story that's, he's had some crazy stuff happen to him. So this storytelling guy comes along, and the main guy tells him a story as the storytelling guy writes it down and gets to go through this guy's story. It's just insane. I can't explain it because I'm very bad at explaining, but I will read the back for you so that you can be intrigued and want to read this yourself because I personally thought this was amazing and I want you to read it too. So, my name is Kvothe. I have stolen princesses back from sleeping Barrow Kings. I burned down the town of Trebon. I have spent the night with Belorian and left with both my sanity and my life. I was expelled from the university at a younger age than most people are allowed in. I tread paths by moonlight that others fear to speak of during day. I have talked to gods, loved women, and written songs that make the minstrels weep. You may have heard of me. So begins a tale unequaled in fantasy literature, the story of a hero told in his own voice. It was a tale of sorrow, a tale of survival, a tale of one man's search for meaning in his universe, and how that search and the indomitable will that drove it gave birth to a legend. This is amazing. If you haven't read it, read it, because I highly recommend this. I can't wait to read the next book. Next, we have the last one, my favorite book of all time of 2022. I actually want to give a couple of number one honorable mentions, because these kind of go with the number one book, and that is Anne of the Island and Anne of Windy Willows. It should be Windy Poplars, but I think it's the British that did this. Sorry, but these two books were absolutely amazing. If you don't already know, I'm obsessed with the Anne of Green Gables series by Ella Montgomery, and these are the two of the books in it, and these are just absolutely amazing. You already probably know what Anne of Green Gables is, so I'm not going to tell you, but my number one book, I had to try and choose between these three. It was kind of really difficult, but I decided to choose this one as my number one because I couldn't help myself. There you go. Anne's House of Dreams. I loved this book. This is the last one I read in the series, so maybe that's why I chose that as my favorite, because it's the most recent one I read, but these are all amazing. I absolutely love this series to death. It's so amazing, and I don't know what else to say except that it's absolutely amazing. And the story, I love the story so much, and I love the fact that the whole time I'm reading this, I have no idea what's going to happen next, because you would think that you'd know a little bit of something because, I've watched the movies, but no, the movies are nothing like the books, except for the first movie, so, these are just an absolute surprise every time I read them, and they're just amazing. Also, helps that I'm absolutely in love with Gilbert and Anne. They're just amazing, and I love these books so much. I highly recommend these if you're into classics, if you're into books like this. This is amazing. So those are my top 10 books of 2022. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite books are. If you have read any of the books on my list, and let me know what you thought of them down below. And if you're into history, historical, fashion, or sewing, check out my other channel linked below. I will see you in the next one. I hope you have your own fun reading adventures. Bye.